All right. Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday. It is March 18, 2011. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Hope you had a lovely day and a beautiful and restful weekend ahead of you. Tonight we have a wonderful show for you. We're going to be talking with Shaman Avalon Sakti, joining us all the way from the UK. Kundalini rising, is it a curse or a blessing? Much is spoken in New Age circles about Kundalini, aka the serpent power, the cosmic power that can bestow enlightenment and so-called supernatural powers and transcendental bliss. There are even courses offered to raise your Kundalini, but think before you leap. Do you actually know what you're in for when your Kundalini begins to rise? What New Age teachers fail to tell you is that lack of proper preparation and knowledge can lead to the most traumatic experience thinkable and cause a multitude of problems, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. I don't know anything about that. Plus, in most cases, alienation from friends and loved ones who fail to understand what is going on with you. Instead of experiencing this transcendental bliss you hear about, you may go through a dark night of the soul and feel as if you are cursed. This is increasingly true when a Kundalini awakening happens in a negative environment, such as in a polluted environment in a materialistic, mind-controlled world where being different is frowned upon. We're going to be talking about that and more to learn more about Kundalini, its beauty and blessings, and the pitfalls which are best avoided. We're going to talk about the chakra system and how it's tied to your spiritual evolution and what can happen when you are not sufficiently prepared for an awakening, the side effects of Kundalini, both positive and negative, and how to alleviate any potential problems. She'll be sharing advice with us tonight, what we can do if we experience that dark night of the soul, which is a very difficult phase that spiritual seekers encounter and must pass through on the path to bliss and liberation. Her website is wayofthewildrose.com, and there's dashes in between each of those words. wayofthewildrose.com, excellent source of information about healing crisis and such. It's so good to have you back here tonight, Sakti. How are you doing?
Hello, Christie. It's been a very difficult week for me, I must admit, whereas everything in Japan going on has very deeply affected me. And especially because I feel what's going on around the world in myself. So it's been a very painful week, actually. But I am good. I'm here and hope to do a good show with you tonight.
I totally understand, and I'm positive you're going to do an excellent show. As always an honor to have you here. But I hear the music, so it is that time. We're going to be right back for a much longer segment, Shaman Avalon Sakti, here on Truth Brigade Radio. Right, welcome back. Raising a little hell, or maybe Kundalini tonight here at Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Thanks so much for joining us here. And if you would like to join us for the text chat tonight, that's over at truthbrigade.com. Any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. That's 402-AFR-2525. Kundalini Rising, Curse or Blessing. Our special guest, Shaman Avalon Sakti, joining us all the way from the lovely and sunny, not UK, Way of the Wild Rose. And don't forget there's dashes in between each of those words. wayofthewildrose.com is her website, just the most invaluable source of information. Literally all your healing needs. It's so good to have you here tonight, Sakti, and I totally understand what you're saying about, Japan and all of these things going on. It's almost, I think we all can feel it if we really tune in, and it makes me even wonder, is Mother Nature mimicking our moods and our perhaps volatile and sometimes fatal emotions and energies?
Yes, of course. Everything is connected. So the Earth is a conscious being. Okay, that doesn't agree with science, but it agrees with a yogic point of view and also with my personal experience of what I have seen when I had the cosmic experience. Really, everything is one and everything is energy, and there's only one consciousness, and everything in the whole universe is conscious. Every single cell in your body, every human being, every animal, every plant on this planet, and beings on other planets and even other galaxies or wherever in the universe, everything is connected. Mm-hmm. Every planet has its spirit as well. So if we are not well, if our global consciousness of all the people on this planet is in chaos and is in pain, the Earth is going to get into chaos as well. And if we're doing things to the Earth in an uncaring and cruel way, it's going to come back to us as well.
So if we want to heal the world, we better spend some time and attention at healing ourselves first, right?
Absolutely, and that isn't selfish, it's actually a requirement. Most people want to be healers and go out and heal everybody, but they haven't done their homework. We have to clean our own inner house first.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of our inner house, let's talk about Kundalini and what it is. And, you know, because we hear, of course, just about everything, conflicting information, and this is what it is, and this is exactly what it is, and it's supposed to be this way, and it's going to happen exactly like this, and you can only go there or get that if you do this or take this program, or, you know, there's just all sorts of information. So let's just kind of start off talking about the Kundalini and what it is and how it relates to our chakra system.
Okay, the word Kundalini actually means the coiled one, and it has the Ni ending, which means it's a female energy. You can also see it as a goddess. It has a goddess aspect to it. And Kundalini is of the nature of pure knowledge and bliss. It's the greatest cosmic energy is Kundalini. We got pure consciousness, which is the male creator spirit, and then we've got the female active power that creates, and that is Kundalini. Nothing could get created, no energy exists without Kundalini. So Kundalini is the sum total of all the energy in the universe. And there is a cosmic Kundalini, there's a cosmic Kundalini, and then we all have our little personal Kundalini, which is connected to the cosmic Kundalini. So we're talking about an absolute superpower, which is available to every human being. It is dormant, it is non-activated in most people until we activate it through spiritual practices. And it rests in the base chakra until it gets activated. It is fiery in nature. It's fiery, and it's also of the nature of knowledge and bliss. And you could basically say that we all got our own little tiny nuclear power plant in our base chakra.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So essentially, our spine, or maybe it could be like the cord or the connection connecting us to the cosmic Kundalini.
That's right. The individual Kundalini is always connected to the cosmic Kundalini.
Okay, so we just need to learn how to plug it in.
That's right, but there are a few more other things to consider, because if your wires can't take that voltage, you get a burnout.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the wires, of course, are the energy system, the meridians. In Chinese culture, they are the meridians, like the acupuncture meridians. In yoga, they are called the nadis. And they can be full of impurities and that block the nadis, such as, for example, when you have a garden hose and you try to get a lot of water through it, but you got something blocked up, then you won't get much water out. Or if it's an old garden hose, the thing may rip. Mm-hmm. So your nadis have to be prepared. The impurities of the nadis need to be cleansed, and the nadis need to be strengthened so they can withstand that kind of energy when it starts flowing. Mm-hmm. And if this preparation is not done, then the three possible results, according to the scriptures, are, and they're all not very good, you can choose which one. One is incurable disease. This disease will not be curable by any doctor unless you have, again, a yogi or an energy expert who can see what's spiritually wrong with you and then help you adjust it. Then the physical disease may go away, but there will be no medicine that can cure it.
Yeah, medicine doesn't cure any disease anyways, and neither do doctors, right?
But it will not even suppress the symptoms anymore if you have Kundalini. Okay. Even that's not going to work anymore.
Okay, all right, okay.
And that is something that happens to a lot of people when they get these symptoms that they don't understand. They run to a doctor, and quite often it then gets really worse because when you have Kundalini, you react to medication differently to somebody who doesn't have Kundalini. So it can, if you take the wrong thing, it can kill you.
Yeah, and then the side effects, of course, of whatever drug they end up putting you on is most certainly going to cause you a physical illness if you didn't have one previously.
Yeah, that's generally true with medications, but with the Kundalini, something that might have given a tiny side effect is going to give you a tremendous side effect that it's really very dangerous. Mm-hmm. So when I had Kundalini awakening and I had some side effects, like I had really big problems with my heart, I knew that it was not only pointless to see a doctor, but also very dangerous, so I just did not bother to go. Yeah. And it sorted itself out in time. The other thing that can happen if you are not prepared is mental illness. You can go pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Incurably insane in some cases. Mm-hmm. And it's not funny. I should not be laughing.
I guess we're all a little insane now, huh?
Yeah, that's one of the side effects of Kundalini is incurable laughter. And that's one of the nice ones. The third one that can happen if you're absolutely not prepared is rare, but it is possible, is it can kill you.
Oh, and wow.
So this is a power that isn't to be messed with, but then again, this is the whole purpose of our existence, is actually to activate this power and get enlightenment, become enlightened and fully empowered. That is the end result of the human journey that we are here for, that we have chosen to do. So we just don't want to get the insanity, the sickness, and the death, not the premature death for sure.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like taking Ativan or something. And side effects, headache, fatigue, nausea, and death. Okay. All right. Well, you mentioned preparation, that we can experience these negative side effects if we are not spiritually prepared. And, as humans, we're funny little creatures we tend to think we are ready for everything, right? We're impatient. We want to have all of the knowledge, everything now. Okay, so, if you gently tell someone or suggest they might not be prepared, or if somebody suggested that to me, I'll speak for myself, I would not believe you. I want everything now. So how do we balance that, and what kind of preparation do we need to do before we are spiritually on the level where we can handle the changes that are going to come into our lives?
Well, first of all, Mother Nature has safeguards so that people cannot get activated too early. And so normally this Kundalini development is over a longer period of time as people purify themselves through spiritual practices. For example, devotion, selfless service are things that actually purifying our heart chakra and helping to purify the chakras. Certain yogic breathing exercises will purify the chakras. There are breathing exercises that actually strengthen the nadis. And also yoga postures do to some extent. They will also clear blockages in the nadis. And then the awakening just happens when you're ready. But there are some people, they will experiment with drugs, for example, to to get an awakening. And I knew a man who was a yoga student of mine many years ago when I was in Asia. And he had done no purification. He was eating a lot of meat, actually. He was, of all my yoga students, the stiffest, even though he was a super athlete. And he got an awakening through very intense meditation and willpower. And he told me also that he was doing some very bizarre things with his sexual energy, which I won't go into now.
Thank you. Yes, that was last night.
It did somehow. Yeah, I've got some laughs again today. But it did somehow awaken his Kundalini, but he couldn't sustain it, and it ended up with him calling me and my partner in the middle of the night and saying, come over, I'm in terrible pain. And he was shivering, he was in awful pain, in really extreme pain, and because he had somehow managed to raise this, but the Kundalini then encountered a blockage, and it ended up with him having terrible pain in the head. He had to see a Chinese acupuncturist who knew about these energies, and he got the man calmed down again, but a few weeks later he did it again.
Okay. Well, Shakti, you mentioned drugs, that people can use drugs to attain this state, and, what kind of drugs you can literally just go take a drug and all of a sudden you're going to have a Kundalini awakening?
Yeah, that would be nice. I think a lot of people would try it. I think that it's been talked about in the yoga scriptures that some people have an awakening through herbs. And, as a shaman, I find nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. As a chef, you should find nothing wrong with that, right? We all use herbs in our everyday life.
Now, the herbs are a kind of fast track, and it can happen with ayahuasca, for example, under certain circumstances. But the thing is, if you're spiritually prepared and you can handle it, then that's fine. But if you have done no preparation and this is just coming upon you, and if your mental state is very rigid, maybe you've been brought up in an extremely Christian way, and now you're seeing the universe in a way that contradicts with what you've been taught in your religion, for some people, that's enough to give them a complete breakdown.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Okay, so you're saying that drugs or herbs or whatever are certainly not the way, and that Mother Nature kind of has a way of blocking us, even if a drug or herb could force that upon us.
Yes, but occasionally people, because they really persevere and they try all kind of things, and it happens, but they haven't done the preparation, and these are the people that get the worst side effects. And it's usually not lasting then. They will come down from the state very quickly. But sometimes it serves, in spite of all the side effects and problems that it can bring them. It can still serve as a little taster of what you could have, an eye opener, so that afterwards maybe they then start to do spiritual practices intensely and eventually do it the right way. But there's a danger. With the herbs, not so much. With the herbs, you're still having some protection if you're doing it in a good shamanic way, because the spirit of the plants will be working with you, and the spirit of the plant knows how much you can take. But if you're taking the extracts of things, which I'm absolutely not a friend of, if you're taking extracts, you're not having the spirit of the plant, then you're playing around with chemical things, and you might be speeding up things to a level which your consciousness cannot handle.
Okay. All right.
And your energy body.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at some of the, this is actually, I was surprised. I found this on Wikipedia, and they're talking about the physical and mental effects of a Kundalini awakening, or at least effects that have been reported. So I just kind of want to read some of these, and then we'll go from there. But it says involuntary jerks, tremors, shaking, itching, tingling, and crawling sensations, especially in the arms and legs, energy rushes or feelings of electricity circulating the body, intense heat, sweating or cold, especially as energy is experienced passing through the chakras, spontaneous pranayama, asanas, mudras, and bandhas, or bandhas?
Bandhas, yeah.
Bandhas, okay. Visions or sounds at times associated with a particular chakra. Diminished sexual desire or a state of constant orgasm. Ooh, baby. Emotional purgings in which particular emotions become dominant for short periods of times. Pressure inside the skull and headache. And bliss, feelings of infinite love and universal connectedness, transcendent awareness. Woo! Looks like you got the good, bad, and the ugly all in one spot. And I have to say, Shakti, I've experienced all of those things.
Me pretty much as well.
Yeah. And you know what the truth is? It really isn't that beautiful and blissful and wonderful all the time, is it?
Well, if you go to the finals, if you have the cosmic experience, then there's nothing that beats that. Somebody wanted to know how good that was, and I said like 10,000 orgasms.
Yeah, all at once. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's indescribable. Those things are wonderful, but see, I think it's important to point out, as you mentioned before, if you're not ready or if you just don't know what's going on, these things are really, really scary.
Yeah, okay. There is the state where this Kundalini is rising before you actually getting the bliss. At that state, everything is in a chaos because your whole energy body is being rearranged. The Kundalini will first rise through the chakras, and I want to go through them a little bit afterwards. And as it goes through each chakra, it will activate the issues that you have in those chakras.
Okay, I'm sorry. Shakti, hold that right there. We're going to pick this up when we come back from this short break. Stay tuned, everyone. Shaman Avalon Sakti here on Truth Brigade Radio. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with Shaman Avalon Sakti tonight, talking about Kundalini rising, curse or blessing. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. That's 402-AFR-2525. And if you'd like to join us on the text chat, that's over at truthbrigade.com. Shakti, if you would please continue, but I just want to, I'm thinking about a couple situations here where people had never even heard the word Kundalini awakening, all right? And so they went through all of these things and went through some pretty tumultuous experiences in their life because of. So, I mean, if you've never heard of Kundalini or didn't know about spiritual awakening or the coils or any of this, I mean, it just seemed, in fact, I know someone who, after they found out what happened, they went to a psychologist and they told him, hi, I'm going through a Kundalini awakening and I'm just experiencing some setbacks. So needless to say, they were offered drugs and a straitjacket. And so I think we should kind of talk about the dangers of that, or people who are going through these things and just don't know what it is, just to reach out and let them know it's okay and perhaps better ways to deal with it. But I think, putting up a billboard or mom, dad, teacher, priest, judge, I'm having a Kundalini awakening, that's probably not the best thing that we can do for ourselves.
Very truthful what you're saying. In magic you say to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent. And the to keep silent part is very important with Kundalini. Don't say too much, especially not in the beginning when you're in chaos.
Yeah. So what if you don't know what it is, though? What if you've never heard of the word Kundalini and you're going through these changes?
Yeah, well, that's difficult because you will probably think that you have a physical condition or mental condition, and people have been conditioned to run to a doctor or psychologist as soon as they find something wrong. We are not empowered anymore to take care of ourselves. We have given that power away already.
Exactly.
Most people have.
I mean, wouldn't you say that there's a danger of people running to doctors or psychologists and being misdiagnosed or mislabeled as, schizophrenic or bipolar or manic or... I mean, when you look at those symptoms, if you go to a doctor and you say these things, he could probably come up with like 100 different diagnoses according to the DSM.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unless you knew somebody who has an understanding of Kundalini, and those ones are harder to find than a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
So if you some of the side effects that you experience are physical, some of them are mental, and after a while you start to get to know it. If you have good intuition, you will know that there is something going on with you that isn't really physical, even though the symptoms appear physical.
Okay.
And then you really basically you have to hang in there and continue with your spiritual practices until things sort themselves out. Any attempts to switch it off by taking chemical drugs, such as given by a medical doctor, is going to make things much, much worse.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks for covering that, Shakti. But I know you wanted to share with us what's actually going on in the rise through the chakra systems and what part of the body or mind they affect. So if you would, I would love to hear just what the heck is going on.
Well, let's talk about the 7 main chakras that most people know about. You got, of course, the food chakra, and some people talking about chakras above the 7, but these are not so important for you now because the 7 chakras are our human journey. And then if you want to become superhuman, but let's not speed things up, let's first go to the crown of being a human, which is in the crown chakra. The cosmic Kundalini that I told you about in the beginning, as during creation, the cosmic Kundalini descends. It goes from the state of pure energy into denser and denser vibrations of energy, and it descends through the 7 chakras downward until it comes to its rest, which is in the base chakra, where the journey of the Kundalini, the journey of enlightenment, starts in reverse again from base upward.
Okay, so you're saying it starts from the top. It goes top, down, and then back up.
Well, during the creation process, it went from the cosmic Kundalini pure energy down to physical matter, which is base chakra.
Okay, all right.
Each one of the chakras has also an element and has to do with certain issues. The base chakra is the earth element, so the energy is the densest there. It's very heavy energy, and it's full physicality, and it can, when people overemphasize the base chakra, it can lead to being very materialistic. Mm-hmm. The base chakra also has to do with your survival instinct, and procreation. It's your state of spiritual infancy. A child is very self-centered, so when people are in a base chakra, pure base chakra vibration, they tend to be self-centered and can easily go into fear because of the survival instinct that rests there. Okay. But the base chakra is also where Kundalini sleeps and where she needs to get activated. And of the 7 chakras, 3 of them have a kind of special lock. When you're looking at pictures of the chakras, you will see that there is a linga. There's the Shiva linga, the symbol of Shiva. And there's one in the base chakra, one in the heart chakra, and one is in the third eye chakra. These are the 3 chakras where the energy is locked, and we have to, through persistent effort and spiritual practices, break this lock before the Kundalini can get activated or go any further.
Okay, so you're saying that's the 1st, 3rd, and 6th.
No, the 1st, 4th, and 6th.
1st, 4th, and 6th. Okay, sorry.
Yes. So in the base chakra, to activate the Kundalini so that it will rise again, for most people is very difficult. When it does awaken in the base chakra, you can have survival fears. So this might make you look very paranoid because you suddenly may feel like your survival is threatened. You may become over-obsessed with sex, which is a very animal sex on the base chakra level. It's a little bit different on the Svadhisthana. And, you can feel any pain or pressure in the actual area. And then as the Kundalini starts rising, she creates heat in the body. So you suddenly feel hot flushes. If you're a woman, they may think you've gone into menopause. Okay. And various issues are activated in the base chakra, quite a lot to do with your survival instinct, sexuality, materialism, material reality, and so on. And then if you can go beyond that, it will go to the next lotus, the next chakra, which is the 2nd chakra called Svadhisthana. And this one has to do with your with creativity. And again, here you can sometimes have pain in the area or problems with the organs in this area. So that rules in women, for example, the ovaries and the womb. And in men it would rule their organs.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have problems with the base, and the Svadhisthana, it rose up, and the first problems I encountered were on the heart chakra level. It seemed to go effortlessly through the lower chakras.
Okay, well, what if it's not? Do you want to recommend some things we can do to get out of it, or would you prefer to talk about all of the chakras first and then go back?
No, we can. Yeah,
okay,
let's talk about what
let's say our root chakra is blocked, either through trauma or whatever, religionism, to materialistic or whatever it is. Let's say we're having a major blockage there. What can we do?
Well, if your major block is at the root chakra, it just won't awaken to start with.
Okay.
So all you can do is continue with your purification and spiritual practices until one day it does awaken. If your major block is in the second chakra, so it has already started to rise, and then it encounters a block in the second chakra, you might get pain or pressure there, or you might feel intolerable heat in your spine on the level of the second chakra. Well, that leaves you two ways to go. Either you find a way of switching the Kundalini down, which is you would have to do something that gets you more grounded or become more materialistic, and you might switch it down.
Oh.
like get drunk. I don't recommend it. This is a great idea.
Get drunk and have sex.
Not sure whether it would. You might just dissipate some of that energy and it might die down. Possible.
Okay.
But the other thing is that you just help to push through the block with cleansing, with purification exercises, with pranayama. And the heat effect for some people is very difficult to tolerate. I didn't find that with myself. I actually like it. But if you find that the burning is uncomfortable, the most important thing is to just embrace it, not try to shirk away from it, but actually really embrace it. And quite often that will be enough that it goes further and it goes through the block.
Okay, now let me ask you this. You mentioned heat. Could the heat, I mean, I know we're feeling it, but perhaps it's not physically, but whatever the heat and energy that we're healing, could it lead to inflammation that would in turn lead to pain, perhaps in your spine? No,
the Kundalini itself doesn't lead to inflammation.
Okay,
but if you
the heat there, okay.
The nature of Kundalini is also very healing. It regenerates your whole body, but before it regenerates, it burns out everything that is old and used up. It has basically two phases as it rebuilds your body. First, it will break down the old that is no good, and then it will rebuild. And it has a burning phase with a fiery phase, and it has an electrical part as well. Okay. And when it burns it out, some people they really are in agony. And you might have a chronic condition that you're no longer aware of, that is now not active, so you haven't felt that pain. And then as Kundalini starts to work in that area to burn away all negativity, you suddenly, this problem that you had many years ago gets activated again and becomes extremely painful. But if you let Kundalini do her work, she's going to go beyond that and sort you out eventually.
Okay. All right. So you're saying don't resist it. Just feel it. Allow it to flow. And eventually it'll balance itself out.
Exactly. You can't fight Kundalini. Remember, this is the cosmic power that makes the whole universe run. You really can't fight that. You got to go with the flow there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. So then I guess we would be on the third, the solar plexus. And isn't that kind of your gut, your intuition, where we feel things around us?
The intuition is actually more in the second chakra, which is ruled by water. The solar plexus is ruled by fire, and it has to do with personal power, with your willpower, and so on.
Okay.
Quite often when I do healings, I see that people have cords attached to their power center as other people are trying to drain their power. And, of course, when this chakra gets activated, if somebody is an egotistical person or power mad, they will go quite over the edge. Power always needs to be balanced with love, which is the next chakra, the heart chakra. So real power is personal power, is power within, is not power over other people. When you have power within, you can create your reality, but you don't need to boss around others.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point there, Shakti. But it is that time, so hold that right there. We will continue this when we return from this short break. Way of the Wild Rose. Don't forget the dashes between each of those words. wayofthewildrose.com. Stay tuned. Truth Brigade Radio. For joining us here tonight, Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with Shaman Avalon Sakti tonight. And Shakti, if you would, please continue. We left off on the heart chakra.
Yeah, we were just talking about the previous one, the solar plexus, with the power issues, and then coming to the heart chakra. Now, this can be a difficult one for several reasons. First of all, this is one of the chakras which is locked. So if you're not stepping into unconditional love, then you don't go further, naturally. And the other reason why this is difficult is because a lot of people are very damaged in the heart chakra. We have been emotionally traumatized, and we haven't been given enough love by our parents, by society, by other human beings. Most of us haven't ever really experienced true love. And so this can be a very difficult chakra for people who have had very traumatic experiences. They basically had their heart broken, as we say. There will be
so they build up walls to keep everyone out because they never want to feel that again.
Not necessarily that, but you have in all the chakras is certain karmic content is stored. So all the emotional pain and trauma that they've gone through in so many years of their life will be stored in the heart chakra. And as Kundalini goes there, because the job of Kundalini is to cleanse out anything negative, it will reactivate that. And you will experience the pain and trauma of all the betrayals you had, of all your, experiences where your heart was broken, your traumatic childhood comes up, and your losses and grief, loss of loved ones. And you may end up lying on the ground and just crying and crying for hours.
No.
And if
I know that.
Yeah, and then your family and friends find you like this, and they say, well, I think we have to call a psychologist now.
Yeah.
And
okay,
give you some medication.
Yeah, so when it gets to that point, you're going to feel or remember, or maybe not remember everything, but at least feel all of the pain and trauma that you maybe had locked away because you didn't want to experience or feel.
Exactly, Christie, because when it gets too overwhelming, then we have to numb out as a matter of survival sometimes.
Yes.
But this numbed out things, it's just like sweeping dirt under the carpet. It's invisible for now, but one day it'll blow up and it'll come out, and that happens when Kundalini reactivates it.
Okay, so maybe we get scared there, and then we'll go back to the lower or the root chakras, or the more materialistic ones, and kind of ground ourselves, as you mentioned before, sex or drink or drugs, etc. We kind of do that to numb ourselves and go backwards.
Well, the numbing has already happened earlier on. Say if you experienced a very traumatic childhood, and you had a lot of pain in your family or whatever, then you might have found ways of numbing out with marijuana, for example, at that time, or you numbed out by going to a gambling hell and gambling. People have different ways of numbing out.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So that you can forget your pain. I used to numb out with reading. Just go in another world and not live in this world of pain that I was living in my childhood. And then you don't feel the pain so much anymore. You think you don't feel it, but it is still there on some level, and it's stored in your cells, in your cellular memory, and Kundalini reactivates it. And when it does, it reactivates everything that you ever had, and even the stuff that you didn't allow yourself to feel 20, 30, 40 years ago. And it comes up all in one go, so it's going to be a hell ride. But the key here is surrender. I have once experienced a really dramatic rather than traumatic relief of this kind of grief when Kundalini got activated. I remember that from one moment to the other I felt a bit funny. I couldn't quite say what it was, but I felt that I needed to go to my room. I went to my room all controlled and calm, and I suddenly felt I needed to throw myself on my bed, and then it went off like a machine. I was just crying and wailing, and I couldn't believe I could make such sounds. In between, I was laughing tears because it was so funny, and then I was crying like crazy again, and I was part of me was observing this and thought, oh, this is bizarre. And it will feel like waves. It's just like waves of energy coming out of you, and it actually feels good to get it out of you. But if you don't know what's going on, then people might get freaked out and thinking, oh my God, I think I've gone crazy now. And you can't keep it in at that point. If it's true Kundalini and it's coming out, it's flushing these emotions out, you cannot stop it. If somebody says, I give you 1,000, if you shut up now, you won't be able to.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that one. Well, okay, let me ask you this then. What if we know someone in that position? How can we help them? How can we be there for them and help them get through this period?
Hold them, unconditional love, do not judge them. And don't give them good advice like, oh, you don't need to cry, be cheerful. That's nonsense in this situation.
Yes, I know the feeling. All right. Good advice there, Shakti. We'll talk about more of that when we come back. And I see we have a caller on the line as well, so we'll get to you when we return from this short break. Shaman Avalon Sakti, Way of the Wild Rose, dashes in between each of those words, wayofthewildrose.com. Stay tuned. Truth Brigade. All right, welcome back. Top of the second hour here tonight. Shaman Avalon Sakti here on Truth Brigade Radio. And Shakti, very important information you're sharing with us, so I definitely want to get back to that. But we have a caller on the line, and a few short minutes this segment, but area code 310. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Christie, thank you. This is Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. How you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks. Hi, Avalon.
Hello.
I've been listening. I'm a student at Lionheart Institute for Energy Healing, and I just wanted to. I love everything that you've been talking about. I just wanted to illustrate the importance of grounding when going through a possible Kundalini experience. A lot of what we're taught is learning to ground our energy and our power. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck up in your upper chakras and can get really, I think, disoriented. I don't know if you wanted to address that.
Very good point, actually. Thank you. That's true, and that's why I found after a while with yoga that I wasn't going any further. And then when I worked more with shamanism, which is an earth-based system, it brought in that grounding, because otherwise people are just flying up in the sky. They're like a balloon that isn't attached to anything and just goes off uncontrolled.
Right. Yeah. That's what I've experienced. I mean, my constitution in general used to be kind of in my upper chakras, and since going to school, I've learned different exercises to ground, which can create an even deeper flow of energy from what I've experienced. And sometimes I'll get Kundalini-like symptoms. Sometimes where what we've been taught is it's called a trauma response, where energy is getting released, and you get the uncontrollable shakes for a little while.
Yeah,
sometimes
that's right. I didn't have the shakes much, but I know this can happen. Grounding is very important. There are different methods of doing. Shamanism is in itself very grounding. Even drumming, if you're drumming with a drum, can be quite grounding. I mean, I'm talking shamanic drum, but I guess even the other drums, like African drums, can be quite grounding. Dancing, being in your body, going out in nature, meditating with a tree, these are all very good methods. You can also learn how to send energy down your feet chakras into the earth and then draw strength from the earth. And these are all things that will help.
Yeah, that's what we're more taught is sending our energy feet down into the center of the earth, and then instead of trying to bring up the energy, being in more of a state of allow the energy to flow up into the heart, where then the heart, we've learned, is kind of an exchange point for all the other energies to become useful.
Yeah, the heart is in the center, so the sky energies that flow down through the crown chakra meet the earth energies that come up through the feet in the heart. And you could say that the earth energies are red in color, which is always the color of the goddess, the color of life, as our blood is red, and the sky energies are white. So we're always talking about white light, protection, and so on. When the two of them mix, they mix in the pink color of unconditional love in our heart chakra.
Right, yeah. And I was also wondering about, I haven't heard anyone mention about the back side of the chakras, because from what I've learned, we call them the A side and the B side, and the front chakra is dealing with the emotional centers, and the back chakras dealing.
Okay, Charlie, good question, and hold that right there. It's that time. We have a short break here, but we'll be right back with a much longer segment, so hang on. We'll bring you right back after this short break. Stay tuned. Shaman Avalon Sakti here on Truth Brigade Radio. Right, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. If you would like to join us for the text chat tonight, that's over at truthbrigade.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. That's 402-AFR-2525. We are talking about Kundalini rising. Is it a curse or is it a blessing with Shaman Avalon Sakti? She is a healer, a shaman, yoga master, teacher. Her website is wayofthewildrose.com, and there's a dash between each of those words, wayofthewildrose.com, an excellent resource, very just powerful and insightful information. We still have Charlie on the line. So, Sakti, if you would, he was asking about the back side of the chakras.
Yeah, the chakras aren't just coming out on our front side. They also have openings to the back. Really, they are located within a very, very fine energy channel. There are actually 3 energy channels within each other in the spine, and the chakras are located within that. But because they are vortexes of energy, we're taking energy in through the chakras, the opening towards the front and also the back of the body, with the exception of the base chakra, which opens downward, and the crown chakra upward. So there are 2 sides to it. Yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm. I guess my question was, or to illustrate the importance of opening, I guess, both the back and the front chakras, because I think a lot of people, when they hear chakra, they only associate it with the front, and it's understandable because we face forward and we kind of view the world with what we can see in front of us. And I was just wondering, if people are just focusing on the front chakras and experiencing a Kundalini, if they could maybe get into trouble if they're not aware of the back chakras and haven't properly opened them as well, if blockages could occur, or...
I think I see what you're saying, Charlie. You mean like, if we focus on opening them but not also releasing them and allowing them to flow and work together, like where we just want to open whatever chakra, but we don't want to deal with the consequences and perhaps release them in a fluent manner.
Right, or just, not realizing that we have back chakras as well, and maybe the trouble that people could get into with thinking that they're doing everything right, opening up their chakras, but not realizing we have chakras in the back that need to be open as well, and there are will centers. And
this is actually not exactly the yogic view is not exactly like having back chakras and front chakras. You've got only one of each type, really. And as I said, it's actually located within the spine, so in your inner vision, you see the chakra neither going out front or back, really. The energy vortex of the chakra can go out back and front. Yes, but the chakra itself is just really one, and you cannot just open one and forget the other. That doesn't happen. It's described that when the Kundalini rises and comes to a chakra, the petals of the chakra are hanging downward. The lotus is still closed. Now, all this thing about the flower petals, what it really is that each chakra is shown with a certain number of petals, and the petals are basically the pattern that is formed by the nadis, the meridians. So the number of petals shows you how many major meridians are connected to each chakra. And each one of these petals also has got a Sanskrit character which activates it, basically. A Sanskrit letter, sorry. And so when the Kundalini goes to a chakra, which at that point is still inert, it's not activated, the petals of the lotus, which are hanging down, turn upward. That's how it's seen in yogic terms. And then the chakra is awakened. There isn't a front and back awakening. It's just awakened.
Okay, that makes sense. And I just had one more question. I don't know if this is part of your belief system, but do you know anything about the Hara line? Have you heard of Hara?
It's the power center, the Hara you're talking about?
Yeah, it's like even more subtle than, it's not really the energy, it's the realm of intention, and how does that play a part in Kundalini awakening as well? We've learned
intention is very important in spiritual matters.
Right.
I have talked about intention before, that just by intending you can do things.
Right. Okay. Well, those were all the things that had come to mind listening to the discussion. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie. That was very nice. Thank you for your question.
All right, Charlie. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good. You too. All right. Bye.
All right. And, speaking of the chakras, we're talking about the main 7, but there are many more than that.
Yeah, there are more than that. You've got the foot chakras, you've got the hand chakras, you've got knee chakras.
Yeah.
Really.
I don't want to put a number on it. Some people say 360, and, whatever. It's all debatable, but there are certainly more. But these are the base 7 that we want to focus on if we're going to achieve this Kundalini awakening.
Yeah, you don't need to get the Kundalini down to your feet chakras necessarily. It will eventually, once it's freed, it will go everywhere in the body, and it will heal every part of you, even your big toe. So,
right. They're all connected. So, whatever we work on, it's going to manifest in other places. We're going to see the results as the working whole or the sum part of the total, not just, I'm just working on this one little chakra and I'm going to ignore the rest. The rest are perhaps being uplifted or at least energized or reactivated simply with the intent to achieve this.
Yes. I would also like to add that the awakening of the Kundalini and the passage through the chakra is accompanied not only by healing and knowledge, but actually by changing. You will change in many ways, and your character is going to change as you actually becoming a better and more enlightened human being.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, Shakti, before the caller, we were talking about the heart chakra and some of the things that we might be going through if we have some blockages or some pain or trauma there to deal with. And before we went to break, we were talking about some of the things to do or not to do if you know someone or perhaps yourself are in this state. And you mentioned, don't tell people, oh, you're not supposed to feel this way, or you're not supposed to cry, or you're stronger than this, or you're smarter than this, or your feelings are insignificant, or you're better than this, right? You just kind of want to be there and let them know everything's going to be okay, hold them, hug them, or just let them know you're there if, when they're ready to deal with you.
Yeah, one needs to have some sensitivity there. Some people may absolutely not want to be hugged, and some people want to be left alone. Generally, when I'm miserable, I want to be left alone and not see anybody. I come out when I'm feeling good, and in the meantime, I want to be left alone. But there are people that are different. They want to be held. So it depends what the person needs. One should feel it, and if you see them recoiling from your hug, then it's time to quietly leave and just let them go through their thing. They come out better. And if they're fearful, then just give them reassurance. It's good, all right, let it out, or just be silent there and hold their hand until they feel better. And they pass through it quite quickly if they're not being judged. The worst is if they're being judged and they will have to try to suppress it, and it makes everything worse.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Because then we'll end up judging ourselves. Like, oh, you're right. I shouldn't be feeling this way, or feeling guilty about, or you're right. I am stronger than this, or you're right. My problems are insignificant, or my feelings are insignificant. And then we beat ourselves up even more, and all of that progress we made, you kind of take one step forward and 2 steps backwards. So, okay, very good advice, Shakti. We have another caller on the line. Looks like Bob, area code 501. Welcome to the show.
Well, hi there. How you doing, Christie?
Hi, wonderful. How are you tonight?
Okay, this is Bob, or Timebird.
Hi,
and hello there. Hey. Hi, Shakti. Great information you got here for those of us that aren't very familiar with it. But I did have a couple questions for you. I notice in the Far East that there are many people that paint that little dot on their forehead. So my first question was, what does that signify? What does it mean?
The dot between where the third eye is, you're talking like in India?
Yeah.
The bindu? That reminds us of our spiritual nature, because the third eye is the seat of it's the guru center, where we hear the command of the inner guru. So that reminds us that we are transcendental beings and that we have all the power and knowledge in us already. So it's basically a reminder of our divinity.
Okay, so what would that mean if a person gets up and doesn't have to paint that dot on the forehead, but it's there anyway? In other words, I have that dot on my head, and I didn't put it there.
Oh, it's just a symbol, It's up to you whether you want to use it or not.
Very interesting. Well, it also had an appendage on both sides, and I only saw it once with my eye in the mirror. There was 2 wings attached to it. So, are you familiar with the 2 wings attached to the dot?
Well,
like eagle wings.
The third eye chakra, the Ajna chakra, actually has 2 petals. So this could be seen as 2 wings.
Oh, okay. That's what I saw then. Yeah, it just blew me away because I really didn't know what was going on. Okay, now, since this has happened to me about 6 years ago, in my dream state at night, I seem to be meeting a lot of different, I wouldn't say that they're human, but they don't seem like they're us. Have you had any of those experiences where you're meeting strange people in your dreams?
Yeah, I'm often in the presence of guides that sometimes I see, but sometimes I just feel they are roughly human-shaped, but they are very, very tall, way beyond what a human being can be, and they're just higher beings.
That is
and
amazing.
I feel very comfortable with them.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I didn't want to really say that or go there, but yeah, my very first memory of, waking up from the dream state was these guys had to have been probably around 17, 18 feet tall. But there was no fear in the conversation I was having with them. There was a half dozen of them. And still to this day, I cannot remember what we were talking about. Have you come across that where you wake up and you can't remember?
Okay, what happens here is there are different possibilities. One of the most common is this, because the knowledge that's being transferred to you is beyond what your rational mind can grasp. So your higher self has absorbed that knowledge, but your material body self cannot bring it back from that realm because it's too much. This happens also during shamanic journeys sometimes when you take people to certain higher realms. And they have conversations there with guides or whatever, and they cannot bring it back, or they even pass out and they say that I didn't journey anywhere, I just fell asleep, because part of their mind blacked out, it went in overdrive, overload. And another possibility is nowadays with all the electromagnetic interference from the powers that be, they're actually blocking our spiritual gifts so that we cannot make use of our psychic gifts. And I have noticed that when I wake up these days and I try to grasp my dreams, I remember it, but it seems like they are withdrawing and pulling away from me. And this never happened before. So we are in a war.
Yes,
in a spiritual war here.
Very interesting. Yeah, in fact, you know what? I think that you are the first person that I've talked to in several years now that has actually admitted to talking to the very tall guys, which I have too. That is amazing. Well, hey, Shakti, thank you very much. I'll free up the line here, and Christie, thank you as well.
All right, Bob, thanks so much for calling in.
Okay, bye.
All right, good night. Okay, all right. I love this. I mean, we discussed the other night, people think that they're alone in their experiences, and I just think it's so wonderful that we can share these here and talk about them and realize that, you know what, we're all in the same boat, and yeah, it might be a little bit scary, but it's much better to know that you can actually talk about it with some people. So, let's see, we left off talking about the heart, Shakti. And blockages and what we can do to overcome them. And, of course, Charlie mentioned grounding. He said drumming or dancing or meditation or even gardening. Gardening helps for me, or going out and, swinging under the tree, or even sitting with my back against the tree. Or I love trees. I got to hug them. You should try it, too. It's it's really it's not so bad. But is there anything else that we can talk about on the heart chakra before we move on?
For me, strumming my guitar does it. That seems to be my greatest emotional release. Yeah, so anything that helps you to release these emotions is good, and anything that makes you have deep feeling.
Okay,
sometimes
like art or poetry or, whatever musical instrument, singing.
Yeah, let it out in whichever avenue. Just don't let it out in a way like you shouting at your boss or something.
Yeah, try to get home before you yell.
That's right,
Okay. Well, speaking of yelling, our throat chakra is next up the line. Mm-hmm.
And that one is one of the easier ones, but again, many people are blocked there because we are not used to speaking our truth, and speaking truth is not popular anymore. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people try to hold it in. The throat chakra is more than just communication. It also your self-expression in general has to do with the throat chakra. which in Sanskrit is called Vishuddha, meaning pure.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Shakti. It's that time, so hold that right there. We're going to be right back and continue this on the throat chakra when we return. Truth Brigade Radio. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Our special guest tonight, Shaman Avalon Sakti. We are talking about Kundalini rising. Is it a curse or a blessing? What the heck is going on? And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525, or you can join us on the chat over at truthbrigade.com. And throat chakra. You know, Shakti, sometimes I have a frog in my throat chakra.
Does it make any sounds?
well, yeah, it's more like babbling and stuttering and yeah.
You know what? I think politicians have the same kind of frog. They babble a lot.
Right.
Just joking. Well, I'm being very naughty today. I am such a bad New World Order slave.
Yes, we're just having too much fun. So.
Okay, so now let's be very serious. I'm back to serious Shakti now, and
yeah.
trying.
So what does that mean? I mean, because I know we all experience that, and I know some people are afraid to speak at all. So perhaps they might have some blockages in their throat chakra, or others who have no problem speaking but just don't know what we're saying, or don't even know how to do it right. We may have some blockages too. How do we deal with that, and how do they occur?
Well, it can occur when we have not been permitted to speak our truth. However, we should speak our truth, but we should be sweet about it. We should not be offensive. So speaking your truth is not to say to your friend, hey, that dress is ugly, or oh, you smell, or something like this, because that's not something you absolutely need to say. But you can speak your truth if there's something you don't like, or that you need to say, that an issue that needs to be discussed, and better out with it instead of keeping it all in. When people keep it in, what they should have spoken, they lose their power, and they start to block their throat chakra. There has to be a balance.
So when we hold our tongue, so to speak.
Yes, and especially if it's on an important matter. Say, for example, you see somebody being abused, and you feel you want to speak up, but then you're afraid. You think, oh, now if I say something now, they're going to get at me as well.
Yeah, or perhaps you're being abused.
Yeah, let's say you see somebody
and you're afraid to speak up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're afraid of ridicule. Yeah, so you don't say anything. And afterwards, you feel like, oh man, I was so mean. I should have supported that woman who was being made fun of by everybody. And you know, on some level, you haven't done right. I knew somebody who developed cancer of the throat because he'd been forced to be silent and do things he didn't want to do.
And so so anytime we suppress our natural tendencies to speak out or, you know, say or do the right thing, then we're in danger of creating blockages.
Yeah, walk in truth, but do it with love. That's the key, you know. Don't be cruel and mean. Do it with love. There's different ways of saying something. I can say, for example, if my friend asks me, what do you think about this dress? If I think that dress is ugly, it's enough if I say that I don't think it suits you very much. I don't have to say, my God, I've never seen anybody looking so horrible.
Yeah.
So you can speak your truth without being offensive, but it is important that we do speak our truth and not lie. We are in a climate, in a society where lying is acceptable, plausible deniability. It seems that to lie and get away with it seems to be a virtue.
And the truth itself is considered unacceptable or offensive.
Or illegal.
Yeah, that too.
They just label it hate speech if you speak your truth.
or child abuse or murder or tax evasion or whatever they want to cover it up with this time. Okay, all right. And then you said you knew someone who actually got throat cancer because he didn't speak up in a situation where he knew he should have. So I guess they kind of hold on to this and can ultimately manifest in physical issues near the different chakras, wherever our blockages may be.
Yeah. It can be. In this particular case, this was the friend of my partner, and I did a bit of energy healing on him, and he had so much anger there that it actually burned my hands as I was working only in the energy field. I did not touch him even. I had to wash my hands because they felt like they'd been burned with a candle flame. And he did have a very good release, and he did have a remission, which he said he got it because of Jesus, but whatever way, but he did seem to get well. And by the way, that was many years ago in a country where working on people with cancer was not illegal.
Imagine that.
Yes, there was not here in Europe. No.
Once upon a time in a land far, far away.
But I'm only discussing this from the point of view that he himself went into, as I worked on his throat chakra, he remembered the scene in his childhood where his father forced him to eat something that he hated, and he had to shut up about it, and he felt so humiliated, and he wanted to shout out his anger and fury, but he kept it in and he swallowed it. And that ended up with a problem in the throat chakra, which then manifested eventually, because it was so extreme, with a problem in the throat area in the physical body.
Okay, wow. All right. Okay, so what can we do to help say that that's our problem, our throat chakra? What can we do to combat that?
Well, singing is one good thing for the throat chakra, and it may even be good if you go out in the forest and if you got something that needs to get out, shout it out.
Okay. All right. Oh, yeah.
But beyond that,
Thompson twins, I think.
Yes, I mean, it may not be socially acceptable, but you can go to a place in nature and just let it out. That's better than you get sick. And the other thing I wanted to say is that in any chakra, if you have a blockage, if you do yoga postures, the basic rule is if you find a yoga posture where the main stretch is on that place of your body, then that is the yoga posture that helps you with that chakra. Say, for example, if you do the camel in yoga, then your head is very far backward. Also, if you do the locust and you go really very high up so that you're standing only on your shoulders, you've got an extreme stretch of the head backward and an extreme stretch of the throat area. That would then work on the throat chakra.
Okay. All right. Very good point. So whatever part of that body, just corresponding pose is what you want to focus on if you're doing yoga.
Yeah, find a pose that stretches this part of your body the most, and it's going to work on it. That's the rule of thumb.
All right. Well, here's the next one then, our third eye. How do we stretch that?
Yeah, that's difficult. that one has a different yogic practice called Tratak, where you're staring at a candle flame.
Okay. I love that.
That works.
Okay.
Yes, you're looking at a candle flame without blinking until your eyes really burn. Then you close them and you visualize the candle flame, and then you can open again and repeat this. And this is actually it's not a posture, of course. This is a yoga practice, and it's a kriya, which means a purification exercise. And it is said to give extreme, powerful psychic gifts to you. You get powers.
Okay, I love that exercise. Okay, and that's very practical, something everyone can do. Okay, and how do we get blocked in our third eye?
That is actually very, very common. Most people are blocked until they unblock it, because the higher mind is in the third eye area. The third eye chakra rules the higher mind, and most people haven't developed the higher mind yet. And as you start developing it, this chakra will naturally unblock. But I have also found during my healings that a lot of people are blocked by entities in the third eye chakra. And we talked about entities before. Now, some of these entities, they are wily and intelligent enough to know exactly what they're doing. They don't want you to have higher spiritual powers. They want to delude you. So they block your third eye chakra so you can't see truth for yourself. Because once the third eye is open, people won't trick you anymore, because you know when you look at somebody who is good and who is not, and who is lying and who is truthful, you get a feeling about a person's energy. But when your third eye chakra is blocked, your intuition isn't functioning and you're lost.
Absolutely. Okay, and there's also things that we can do physically to improve that, because, I mean, like fluoride, of course, leaves calcium deposits on the pineal gland, and all of these chemicals, whether we're ingesting them in our food or tap water or drugs, that kind of makes it a lot harder to crack through that, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and as I said, you will know the truth if the third eye is functional. So if we look at these politicians on TV, what they're telling us, if everybody had the third eye chakra open, we'd be rolling on the floor when we hear them.
Yeah, exactly. They think we're going to fall for that? I mean, yeah, absolutely. It is quite comical. A question came on the chat, though, that's related, Shakti. He says, does the Kundalini experience necessarily imply that the third eye is open?
Not necessarily. Ultimately, it will go to the third eye and it will open it if it continues, unless it gets prematurely aborted. But you may have Kundalini experience in the lower chakra, so your third eye may not yet be open.
Okay. All right. Okay, so it can go either way. Okay, so what are some of the things that we can do to stimulate our third eye if perhaps we are, as many, probably most, if not all of us, are blocked? What can we do about it?
Well, the energy with the candle gazing and the exercise with the candle gazing is definitely good. Well, some of the sacred plants are also opening the third eye chakra. Just a moment, I have to break up a fight here. So two of my cats chose this moment to fight here.
Oh no, wait for break, sweeties.
Yeah, so this is the first time that I couldn't make them. Okay, so back to it. Third eye can be activated by Tratak, which is the candle gazing. And it can be, the headstand is as well a good posture to activate the third eye, and meditation, of course.
Okay. All right. Very good. Anything else on the third eye before we move up to the crown?
Mantra yoga, if you're repeating mantras long enough, and we're talking about the real mantras, not the kind of slogans that people make up like I am love and light and infinite bliss. That's just an affirmation. It's not a mantra. Mantra will do it eventually, because all mantra eventually leads to the rising of the Kundalini. It will naturally happen in the course of one's spiritual evolution. And the sacred plants, that's the last one, and that's also why the sacred plants are now being outlawed and banned everywhere, because in case they might open up our third eye chakra and make us so intelligent that we see we've been misled and conned all the time. But, you know, they may not be legal, but there are some things which are still legal and that can help you. But in the end, I think meditation is the best way, and you can meditate on any of the chakras. So if you put your awareness, as you close your eyes and you put your awareness on the spot between the eyes, I do that a lot. I do it actually before I fall asleep, and then I see a lot of colorful lights blazing there, especially blue. It comes very, very quickly. I repeat my mantra a few times, and I look on the inside, as if looking to the third eye from the inside, and it gets going. I think I start my DMT production there in my third eye. Totally legally.
Yeah, absolutely. And it happens. I'm serious. But, you know, if anyone wants more information on the herbs and sacred plants and such, we did a whole show on that. We did 2 shows on that. Shakti, so they can get the archives at your website, Way of the Wild Rose, with dashes in between each of those words, wayofthewildrose.com, or all of our archives, of course, are in the forum over at truthbrigade.org. But yeah, absolutely. We can get to a point where we don't have to wait until we're in the dream state where we experience the DMT and such working for us.
Another thing that works is darkness. I would like to add that. So if you're blindfolded for a while and you are actually, if you have sensory deprivation, that can be a blessing because it can activate your third eye.
Absolutely. Awesome point, Shakti. Thanks for bringing that up. It is that time, though. When we come back, we will talk about the crown chakra here with Shaman Avalon Sakti here on Truth Brigade Radio. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Truth Brigade on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with Shaman Avalon Sakti, talking tonight about Kundalini rising. And, you know, I'm glad we got to get a chance to at least scratch the surface on this topic. It's a big topic, and I know we left a lot out. But, okay, crown chakra, and then, of course, or did we have, I'm sorry, more to talk about darkness and its effects on the pineal gland?
Yes, I just wanted to say that basically when you're longer time in darkness, that the body seems to naturally produce DMT. Anyway, it will trigger visions. Whether they are by DMT or whatever doesn't really count, but it will trigger visions, and it can help to activate the third eye being in darkness.
Okay, so as you said, sensory deprivation or even a blindfold. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people think, oh my God, sensory deprivation, that's so horrible, and I think, bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, thanks so much. Okay, so the crown chakra is the only one we haven't discussed tonight. So if we're experiencing blockages there, how would we know it? What's contributing to them, and how can we clear it?
The crown chakra is basically your connection to God, Goddess, all that is, and it's blocked in most people. Once the Kundalini goes into the crown chakra and beyond, you have the cosmic vision and you have liberation, self-realization, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. If it's blocked, then you stay at the level of the third eye, which is already a very elevated state because you will have very great psychic gifts, but you do not experience the full oneness and the cosmic vision at that point. Once you go to the crown chakra, if it's full blown, you also experience omniscience.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this, Shakti. I don't want to spend too much time. We talked about it, I think, on the last show, but that experience I described where it felt there was something attached to my crown and just that immense electricity and white light. I mean, it was insane, hardly indescribable. But could that be when you're clearing your crown chakra?
The Kundalini is electric in nature, and quite often when it's clearing something out, then you feel intense electricity in this part of the body.
Oh, man.
Actually, it starts with the heat. The heat is the part where I said it burns out the negativity, whatever is there, the diseases and stored up negative emotions or whatever. And then when comes the healing phase, where it gets very electric, where it rebuilds. And so you might have felt that. And it's
orgasmic.
Very purifying.
Purifying, absolutely. Orgasmic. Okay. I mean, if there's heaven, that was it. For sure. I mean, you know, we don't have enough time to waste time discussing that again, but okay, it's just a lot of this is making sense to me, like, oh my gosh, okay, I totally recognize that. And, you know, so I guess I was one of those people I was talking about in the beginning of the show where you're going through these things and perhaps might not even know what it means or, wow. Okay, all right. So what can we do about the crown chakra if perhaps it is blocked?
For the yoga postures, the headstand is very good. And then again, it's just continue with the meditation because the Kundalini will eventually reach there once it burns out everything that is in the way. do meditation and try to cultivate love and be in the spirit of service, help other people, be compassionate. All these things are actually helping. It's not just some silly religious books that tells you doing these things. These things actually purify you. And because we are all connected with each other, when we're thinking less of self and ego and we're doing more for the others, at some point we're realizing this connection with everybody else. And through our selfless acts, we can realize this connection. And the moment that we are realizing the connection, if you become one with anything, if you meditate on a tree and you become one with a tree, that can be enough to get you into the oneness and the cosmic vision. So if you do loving things for your neighbor, that helps to purify you. And it's one of the paths of yoga is karma yoga, yoga of selfless action, and another one is bhakti yoga, the yoga of love. So love and selfless action help our spiritual enlightenment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we start to experience that, I mean, we got to admit, some of us might even feel a tinge of fear, like, what the heck was that? So why are we so fearful of this, and what can we do to overcome those obstacles?
Oh, I don't know why we're so fearful. I guess because we're living in a fear-based reality.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're taught that all this stuff is crazy and hokey and evil and demonic.
Throw your TV away. It's one of the best recipes because you learn only nonsense there. And basically you have to undo all the conditioning. Shankaracharya, who was a wise man and a sage and one of the greatest philosophers of India, he said basically before you can be enlightened, you have to forget all your social conditioning. All the conditioning is actually only obstacles in your mind because we are pure consciousness. We are not really men and women, and we don't belong to this caste or that caste or this nationality or that color. All these identities are only superficial things. They are not who we really are. We are pure consciousness, and there's no difference between the consciousness in me and the consciousness in an animal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Wow, Shakti, I mean, lots of valuable information tonight. We just have a few, probably a half a minute left. Any closing thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Just practice love. I think this is the most important thing right now, to love each other, to love the creation, the creator, everything in the creation. Try to be in a state of love and do love in action. That is what I think this world needs right now. We need to do empowered action empowered by love.
Absolutely. Very good, Shakti. Thank you so much for sharing your time and wisdom with us once again. Always such a pleasure to have you. And, of course, your angelic voice is also very soothing. And thank you again. The website is wayofthewildrose.com. There's dashes in between each of those words, okay? Way-of-the-wild-rose.com.